So this is a question that I get asked pretty often, and that is whether strength training will make you fast or not. Before I go into the parameters, we have to make sure that we're on the same page as to what accounts as strength training. It's gonna differ whether you ask a bodybuilder or a powerlifter, for instance, because they have different goals and different backgrounds when it comes to the giant universe of subcategories of strength training. But for me, as a sports physiologist and a coach, strength training is simply your ability to produce maximal amounts of force independent of time. And what do I mean independent of time? For example, if you take a powerlifter who competes in the big three lifts, the deadlift, the bench press and the back squat, their only goal is to get the lift finished. Let's say it's 200 kilograms or 300 kilograms. You just have to lift the weight up, and regardless of whether it takes 5 seconds or 10 seconds to lift this weight, that is their goal because it is not dependent on time. In contrast to that, if you take a 100-meter sprinter, they have to exert as much force as possible on each stride, on each step, in the shortest amount of time possible to finish this 60-meter or 100-meter race in the fastest amount of time possible. So for those athletes, strength and speed is important, of course. But yeah, this is the definition of strength training if you ask me. Producing maximal amounts of force independent of time. Like, time is not an important parameter here. It is just force production. Back to the question. Will strength training make you fast? First of all, I have to ask you, who is the athlete in question? Is it a physically unfit athlete who doesn't have a background in strength training, who has low force production, or is it an elite athlete with a solid strength base? Because the results are gonna different for those two athletes when they choose to do a strength training intervention. First of all, let's define what a strength base really is. I mentioned that word, strength base. For me, strength base is an athlete that has gone through this initial spurt where you are just new to the activity and you progress in strength like crazy, and they have reached this plateau, so to speak, where it requires more creative approaches. You have to take the individual like biology and genetic makeup into question and throw like new solutions to get through another breakthrough stage. That is the definition for me, at least, an athlete that has a solid strength base. But if you are a new athlete, you will be, like I said before, growing like crazy because everything is new to your body. You have a very high margin for improvement. It's like you are this child, you know, when we were children, we learned very fast. Stimuli stuck to us very easily and very effortlessly. This is the same thing when you're new to strength training. You don't have a solid base yet. For such an athlete, if they choose to do strength training by the definition I told you when we began this video, they will not only grow fast, but they will also grow strong. Every athletic endeavor will be all-inclusive when they choose strength training. And that is for the simple reason that they are just new to athletic activities, and it's gonna give them a lot of results because, once again, their body is not accustomed to any athletic activity before. So yes, for that athlete, it will make them faster. But I assume when you ask the question, will strength training make me fast, you are referring to an athlete with a solid strength base, a solid athletic base. In that instance, actually no, it's not gonna make the athlete fast by strength training alone. Because you see, when you do strength training, by the definition I said once again, you target the force production in the so-called force velocity curve. I'm gonna put a picture right here so you understand what I mean by that. It's just your ability to exert maximal amounts of force, once again, independent of time. So you're only working on your raw strength. It's not usable strength into an activity that also requires speed, because it needs to be translated into usable speed as well. And we do that by doing strength training in combination with speed and power training. In that case, strength training will be beneficial when it comes to your speed and power production, because strength training, think of it like this. It is the size of the engine, while speed training is the horsepower. So you need both, of course. When you do speed training, you take all of the previously developed strength you have built and you translate it into usable power and speed for your sport. So when you do speed training, you work on the velocity production in the force velocity curve. So if you do strength training and speed training, both ends of the spectrums will increase simultaneously. What are some examples of speed training? I have gone through this in a lot of my videos, but you have plyometrics, you have ballistic training, you have Olympic weightlifting, you have rounds of sprinting. Basically any activity with little to no resistance that forces you to put forth a lot of effort, it will inevitably be fast. That is the definition of speed training. So if you are an athlete with a solid strength base, I would cut down on the strength training a little bit and start emphasizing speed and power training to use all of that strength you have developed to build this explosive power, this speed that we are after in most athletic activities. So that is the definition of strength training, or whatever you want to call it, how it translates into speed. Thanks for watching.